Okay, thank you. At the outset, I will take apologies. I have an apology from the chair, Councillor McAlinton, who hasn't been well over the last number of days. We wish him a speedy recovery and back to full health very quickly. Do we have any other apologies? Okay. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. If there are any declarations of interest from the floor, are members happy to declare them as the meeting progresses? Assume so. Yeah. Agenda item 3, the strategic director report. Decision item 3.1, requests for relaxation of Sunday trading hours. Going to bring in the director, Olga Murta, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. In autumn 2020, members agreed to relax the Sunday trading hours for a number of weeks to help retail businesses which have been closed for a sustained period and to help manage consumer access to shops during the COVID-19 pandemic. No overall regional approach has been taken in relation to this issue, and each council has considered different approaches. Recently, we've received requests from the Boulevard and Rushmere Shopping Centre to relax Sunday trading for 5 Sundays from the 28th of November to the 26th of December from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have not at this stage received any requests from the chambers or trader groups in our towns. So the recommendation is before members. It is recommended that members consider and advise on the requests for a relaxed approach to the enforcement of Sunday trading hours.
Thank you, Olga. Bring in Councillor Baxter.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, but quite a lengthy discussion about this, I think on a couple of occasions, the party group leaders. We know this came last year, and because of the COVID restrictions and that, it was felt maybe that last year was maybe worthwhile doing, you know, to help out with social distancing and letting people come at different times to the big supermarkets and that. But I think the last line really, Olga, you said there really sums up probably our party's views on it, that the local chambers of commerce haven't requested this. This has come from others, because in essence, this is really to do with the square footage, if I'm correct, the size of your shop, whether you have to abide by the 12 to 6 p.m. rule. So really this only benefits, to our mind, the larger, the very large retailers and the multinational retailers. And I think there was a certain amount of consensus, although it wasn't just maybe all cross-party at party group leaders, that, you know, it's a small trader maybe would take a dim view that if council were seen to be giving a helping hand to the multinationals, because really it's a small trader maybe was hurt hardest and hit hardest right across in this last year and a half or so. And I know there is issues with small business at the minute, even to try and get staff, never mind, you know, having to try and compete with large business on a Sunday on a longer operating basis. So for the reason that we think it'll probably affect the small business, and we're here to protect them and to promote that and promote the high street, I would be proposing just that we stick to it and we don't accede to this request, and that only benefits a few probably of the very large shops and the multinationals across the borough. So our party will be proposing that we don't accede to the request and just keep it as it is. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Baxter. Any other speakers? Sorry. Alderman Hello. Spears.
Chairman, yes, there was a fair degree of discussion at party group leaders, and while I wouldn't want to be prescriptive about trading or whatever, the general feeling, and it's certainly my feeling, that the ordinary independent retailer out in the community is the person that as at most at risk from this, and I certainly take the view that the big supermarkets, by and large, they're fairly well able to look after themselves, so to speak, and that's okay. They're entitled to do that. But at the end of the day, all the small shopkeepers just maybe haven't the manpower or the resources or whatever to stay open as long as the big supermarkets can. So I personally am of the mind that we still look after the local retailers within our own community right across the area, let it be Portadown, Armagh, Lurgan, the villages, Dromore or wherever. I certainly share that view, and I don't want to see them damaged in any way, and I believe this would ultimately attract people to the bigger centres and detract from the opportunities for the ordinary shops out on the streets, high streets.
Okay, Councillor Kyle Savage. Apologies, Councillor Kevin Savage there, my mistake.
Thank you, Chair. Look, just to concur with the remarks made, particularly by Councillor Baxter, last year was very different in terms of lockdowns and things. And as we're coming to Christmas, the shops will be open to 9 o'clock most nights, as it is. So I think, I don't think Alderman Spears seconded Councillor Baxter's proposal.
Yes, it is.
So I'd be happy, you did? No. Well, I'd be happy to propose it if not, Chair. All right.
Okay, Councillor Pope.
Thank you, Chair. And likewise, I'm very supportive of the small traders. I'm not totally convinced with the link, mind you, and there are certain advantages of having, footfall spread out over a longer period. So I guess I would be in favour of sort of a compromise on that. But as I say, I agree that we should be very, very supportive of all our local traders.
Thank you. I don't detect that we have any other speakers here, unless I'm wrong. So it's been proposed and seconded that we don't accede to the request. Is there agreement around that? Agreed. Okay.
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item of business, agenda item 4, the Head of Economic Development, 4.1 Key Employment Zones Action Plan Update, and Nicola Wilson will take us through this in the next few items. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. Yes, item 4.1 is around Key Employment Zones Action Plan Update. And the decision required is recommended that members, number 1, approve the progression of short-term actions from the Key Employment Zones Action Plan, and number 2, approve a budget of £7,000 from the existing Economic Development Service budget to deliver a Meet the Buyer event.
Thank you. Councillor Baxter.
Happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you. Proposed by Councillor Baxter. Alderman Spears.
Happy to second that, Chair.
Thank you. And agreed. Thank you. (4.2) and the remaining items are items for information. Nicola, were there anything you wanted to say on any of them specifically, or do we take them as read?
Chair, I just wanted to draw members' attention to the fact that Armagh City, Banbridge and Craigavon Borough Council won the Social Economy Council of the Year award. So we're absolutely delighted with that, and we're delighted with the presence of our social enterprises and what they have contributed to the economy of the borough. So wanted to draw members' attention to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola. And I'm sure all members would wish to join with me in congratulating everyone involved in that tremendous accolade for council. A good news story and very welcome. Thank you. Moving on then to agenda item 5, taken by the head of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Brian Johnston. Brian, 5.1, the Arts, Culture and Heritage Framework.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. So the paper before you this evening relates to the Arts and Culture and Heritage Framework for the Borough. Just a few notes to this. It's an important document in terms of underpinning the City of Culture bid. Again, it provides an important evidence piece. The document is very much borough-wide and sort of, again, as part of the process with this, it was much delayed, particularly with COVID, but we spoke to over 120 people who engaged with the process. And so it takes culture in all its forms, including, the recent event around sort of food heartland, but sport and all aspects of that. So effectively, it's how people live their lives and connect with the place that we live in. It also looks at contemporary culture, like the new Game of Thrones visitor attraction opening at Banbridge, and the whole heritage remit. So, and also strategically, just to say, it ties across with the health and wellbeing agenda and the inclusive growth agenda that's is prevalent in council at the moment. So the recommendation before members this evening is recommended that members approve the draft Arts and Culture Heritage Framework 2021 to 2031 as evidence for the UK City of Culture 2025 bid. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, for that. Any member wish to make comment or make a proposal? Councillor Kaya Savage. Kaya, maybe your light's on from earlier.
Yes, I'm happy to support this, Brian, as long as it's fully inclusive. So, hello, yep. Chair. Hello.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Savage. Yep.
Yep. Thank you, Chair. Happy to support this as long as it's fully inclusive of every single part of our council area, Brian. We've talked about this before, and I know it's the City of Culture, but it's also the inclusive of the regions throughout our council area. So I'm very much in support of your document here, but I want to make sure that it's fully inclusive of all cultural backgrounds and the widespread area of our borough. Thank you. So happy to propose.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Savage. Someone to second? Councillor Kevin.
Chair, I'm happy to propose or second Councillor Kyle Savage's proposal.
Thank you for that. Okay, Alderman Spears.
I want to ask a question, and it's probably explained in it, but on page 3 of 6, it speaks about the detail. UK City of Culture is a UK-wide programme developed in collaboration with devolved administrations in Scotland, England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, and the competition is run every 4 years. Yes, I accept that. Is there, do we need to mention the regions of England, because there's quite a lot of them are actually key players in this programme on this particular occasion?
Alderman Spears, I'll bring in Brian.
I think, thank you, Chair. Alderman, I think maybe that's 5.2.
That's right.
Yes.
Sorry, we're still in 5.1. Alderman Spears has been proposed, seconded, but it hasn't been agreed as yet.
All right. Okay.
So we'll come back to you at 5.2. Councillor O'Hanlon, is yours relevant to 5.1?
No, sorry, I thought it was 5.2 as well, Chair. I'd like to come in on it.
Okay, thank you. Are we agreed on 5.1, members then?
Agreed.
Great, thank you. Moving on then to 5.2. Brian, I'll let you speak first to it, and then we'll bring the members in after.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to ask Carol. I'm having some trouble bringing the presentation up. I don't know if Carol can easily bring it up. I'm having some just trouble with that.
Okay, members, on that basis, we'll adjourn here for hopefully 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, members, apologies for that short delay. Brian is ready to present now, so hand over to you, Brian. Thank you.
Apologies, Chair, and apologies, members. A bit of a technical glitch there. So, with your indulgence, I'll run you down through this presentation in terms of the UK City of Culture bid. Okay, so the agenda in terms of what I would like to update you on is in terms of our progress against the bid and the bid timelines. Talk through a bit, like Councillor Savage referenced, the bid geography, why we want to compete and the overall essence of the bid, and then to talk about the various work streams and resourcing that's ongoing at the moment, and then talking a little bit about corporate support. So the bid timelines, and again, we've talked about these before, but they've actually shifted slightly. There was a delegation went over of officers to Coventry a couple of weeks back, and at that point, the date was moved, I think, until the 2nd of February. So it's a 1 week's change, but the final submission is due with DCMS for the 2nd of February. So it's a short turnaround period. The shortlisted cities will be made in either February or early March, and at that point, 3 cities will be shortlisted, and the winner will be announced in May. And so, if our bid is successful and wins, then there'll be an expectation that activity will start from sort of 2022 onwards, building up 2025, and importantly beyond for a legacy period. So again, why do we want to compete? And I think it's really important to say that there's a really clear strategic alignment with the council's overall corporate goals, whether that be around inclusive growth, health and well-being of our citizens, or and also the environmental agenda. So this was well researched and as an initiative, and again was a really good fit with the overall council corporate agenda. Again, why do we want to compete? It's about step change. This isn't about small incremental change. It's about proper step change, and that's from an economic point of view, from a societal point of view, and from an environmental point of view, all of which are equally important. The tourism message and the economic message will come to the fore, but really this is, the other elements are very important, equally important as well. It's also about addressing local issues, but we've been told all along this has to be authentic. It's not about replicating a bid that somewhere else has made. What are the local issues to this borough, and so the bid will try its best to address those through the programme or whatever. So it's very specific to this ABC borough, and I think what we've been told all along is we have to be resolute in that, and again, and very clear to local needs. It's also about elevating the status of this borough in the UK and beyond. Coventry have been slightly unfortunate this year with COVID, in that they haven't had the opportunity to probably get the full sort of profile that other cities have in the past. So it is about elevating our position, and again, through your help, even through your own parties, it's been really good to get that support at Northern Ireland wide level. And it's important to say today we got endorsement from the First Minister and Deputy First Minister's office, which was really well welcomed. So I think that really strengthens our bid in terms of the Northern Ireland bid. And again, it's about securing investment for the borough as the Northern Ireland bid, and trying to get as much investment as possible. One of the learnings from Coventry, there was a lot of money has come in from various trusts and foundations, from government, from business, to really make it a bid for the place. So this will be about securing investment for the borough. And again, it's about positioning ourselves for legacy. So 2025 is the line in the sand, but it's very much about what happens beyond that and into the future. So it's just some headlines to pull out that some of the other cities have experienced. So Hull, which was the previous winner, are able to attribute 676 million of direct capital investment around the City of Culture theme. Again, 3,000 hospitality jobs in the evening economy, a £50 million growth in tourism revenues over the year. again, 90% of residents engaged in one cultural activity. So that's a societal piece beyond just the economics. And again, there's a stat from Derry, Londonderry, which was a study that Queen's undertook to say that 84% of school children were prouder to be from the city on the back of City of Culture. And I've alluded to some of the feedback from the best practice visit to Coventry. I think really what I took from it was scale. The scale of this is huge, but again, it's very much within our grasp. I think that we have a lot of ability and capability in the borough, so it certainly didn't feel overwhelming. But the scale of it is huge. But so was the opportunity. The essence of the bid. So again, it was being about authentic and being about a true original. There is an amazing story across this borough. And I've said it before, I know from dealing with each of you and from people across the borough that there's a lot of passion and a lot of, real authenticity and stories that are a bit like Councillor Savage said earlier, equally strong from, each and every art and part of the borough. So this has to be original and authentic, and it is bringing all of those things together to make it one unique bid that, can compete on that UK-wide stage. There's the themes that were in the bid or in the expression of interest, which we've been advised by, in terms of DCMS, we've been advised to stick with these because they feel they're fresh and they're strong. So again, about traditions for the future. It's not all about looking backwards. We've got some really strong traditions here, but how do we, again, future-proof those and bring them into the future? About provoking thought. And again, about healing, and that's particularly relevant from a societal point of view, from as a people coming out of COVID and so forth. So the themes we were told we felt were really strong and resonated with the borough. So we've been advised to stick with those and to build on them. And again, it's about a partnership approach. So this is not or cannot be just a council-led bid. This has to be a bid for the borough. It'll involve engagement across the borough in the next number of months. It'll also involve partnership working with so many of the key agencies, from the likes of the Arts Council to the Tourist Board to Department for Communities to the Department for Economy, Education Authority, and we have been engaging with all of those. And again, I think over the last month, we have ratcheted that up, very specific to this task. So work streams, and again, these are significant engagement, we've talked about before, but again, this is about engaging across the borough with as many people as we can in a meaningful way. It's not about a tick box, it's not about just it's meaningful engagement. In terms of programming too, again, there's a mixture of international programming for those wow moments that will bring people here from internationally, but also that programming at a local level and making sure we're supporting the providers who are on the ground. So we as I said in the previous report, we had 120 people engaged with the cultural framework. We've identified over 200 organisations, and there will be more across the borough, particularly on the cultural side, that we need to engage further with, and they will be part of the programming piece. Fundraising, again, is going to be huge. As I said, the Coventry bid, I think the budget was somewhere between 32 and 35 million revenue spend this year. Again, there was another capital budget in the region of 45 million. I've referenced the Hull capital budget, which was 676 million. So this is a significant element of this will be fundraising, and there's a big piece of work needs done in that regard. Communications, again, this is about taking this opportunity to elevate the position of the borough, both within Northern Ireland and the UK, and then internationally, which is vitally important. From a governance point of view, again, what we've been advised is that a council-only bid has never won this accolade. So there is a need to set up to look at this more holistically. And what I'm asking again permission this evening is that from members that we explore opportunities around governance. There may be the need to set up an arm's length company, whether that be a charitable trust or whatever, but there are a lot of pros and cons to each model that has been done to date. And what I'm asking is your approval to progress this conversation. Obviously, this needs a standalone committee report if anything was to, as this evolves, but just that's the ask is if we can pursue that. Again, there's a lot of work around research and data. We have to evidence everything. This is a again, we've been told to show the magic and uniqueness or whatever in our bid, but it also needs evidence with an awful lot of data. Now we have a lot of that data, so we are sifting at the moment to see what's there and what remains to be pulled together. So in terms of resourcing, there is an internal core team working on it at the moment, and we're getting good support from across the council departments. Externally, there is some specialist support and technical assistance required, though part of that would be on the fundraising piece. We don't necessarily have that expertise. There'll be need for assistance around international programming, so we haven't done anything on that scale, but there are a number of other work streams where we need external advice. So there's a report going to governance committee tomorrow night in terms of that resourcing, and again, that externally we're looking at the whole business continuity and sort of risk management. So I think one of the things we realised again from Coventry, and again how resource hungry this is going to be over the next number of months, and so again I think what I'm asking again is in part that a lot of my time will be on this, number of staff time will be on this, so some other things may become delayed, but we can bring an update to committee back on that. What was made clear from the conference session in Coventry, one of the key things is about legacy. So what this means, what does the borough mean in the UK context? We will be looking to secure investments for the borough, capital investments. The legacy will be a tourism cultural step change. Hull's figure of 50 million growth in tourism over that year, is a step change. Similarly with Coventry this year, they haven't, obviously they're still in the middle of the year, but there's been a visible significant growth in tourism despite COVID. And again, so and in terms of the cultural sector as well, again, we have a lot of capacity issues there within the cultural sector, and again, part of the legacy would be growing the strength of that across the borough. Inclusive growth, again, would be another legacy. So members are very obviously alive to the inclusive growth agenda, and this will support that. Similarly with the green agenda, as 2025 is moving so much closer to 2030 and all of the environmental sort of targets that are set before government. So the bid for 2025 will be a mixture of digital events, but also then those events that will bring significant people here. So we have to be alive to the green agenda, and we need to look at the whole transport infrastructure around this. So we are proposing to work with the likes of TransLink and others to make sure that it becomes a green bid, as well as, hopefully something that will create a significant economic lift. Again, it's about being our regional competitiveness as a borough, raising that. And I think even in the short term, we've been in this process, we've seen that. We have, there are conversations now with government departments and others, that this has opened the doors in many ways for that. So we want to move on with that and build that regional competitiveness. And digital accessibility is going to be important, as I've said, in terms of the program and the event. But we need to build our digital capacity, and that was again part of the feedback from the Coventry sessions. So just in conclusion, so I'm asking members' endorsement for the approach and agreement with our progression with this. And thank you. I'll hand back to the chair, and apologies again for the delay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian. I have 3 councillors who've indicated to speak, and I'll bring them in a second. But thank you for a very comprehensive report, Brian, and hopefully we can all get behind this, because this will lift the borough probably in a seismic way like never before if something is achieved. And I'm glad to hear you're getting supportive comments from central government. Let's hope that they're more than supportive, that they're proactive as we move forward in this. I want to bring in, first of all, Alderman Spears.
First of all, Brian, thank you very much indeed for an excellent report. I read through this last night, and I must say there's a lot in it, and I certainly want to see it getting a fair wind. The question I want to ask was by and large, to some extent, answered by yourself, and that was in relation to support from government departments and others in relation to this. I mean, it is evident that you've had discussions, and as you've rightly said, the first and the First Minister are on board, so to speak, is going to be extremely, extremely important. And timescale is not on our side to a great extent. You know, it's not 6 months away. It's not even 3 months in terms of you know, the timescale. So we need to be up to speed in relation to this, and anything that we can do to signal a go ahead for you as and from tonight to move ahead is certainly has got to be, and I have no problem in supporting that. You did talk about a governance bit, and again, I don't know that we have many experts in relation to how we get that together, but I do fully understand that this has got to be a bid that is embracing, and it's, you know, it brings in a wider scene of our public right across not only the borough but indeed probably across Northern Ireland and whatever. But certainly thank you and wish you well and full support. But I'm just slightly concerned that we maybe not getting the full support from all the statutory agencies. But I think I'd like your answer on that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Spears. I'm going to bring in Councillor O'Hanlon and Councillor Pope, and then ask Brian to answer all the questions together. Councillor O'Hanlon.
Thank you, Chair. And like Councillor Spears, I'd like to commend Brian on the very comprehensive report we've had tonight. I know we've had sight of some of this before, and it's actually good to see to hear the feedback from the study visit to Coventry. I think it's important that we learn lessons from others who have gone before us. And I suppose with that in mind, you know, one of the things before we even got to it was around that I wanted to raise was around the governance. I think the dairy bid had a company that ran alongside the bid, and I think that's useful. So I'd welcome. Well, first of all, I don't think it's happened, but I propose the adoption of the report, and happy to for the work to continue. I'm particularly keen to see that governance piece come back to us, and let us see what that culture company or whatever we call it is. In relation to the fundraising stroke funding, it's all great having all the great and good from Stormont give us platitudes and telling us we're nice fellas down here and to work away, but unless they dig deep the same way as they did for the dairy bid, you know, I think we need to we're every bit as important and as significant as that bid. So I would hope that the resources, be it financial and human resources and whatever Stormont threw at that bid, needs to be matched at least for this bid. And doing that, Brian, maybe you could come back to this at a later point around the breakdown of funding, as in percentages, you know, so how much is council expected to put up for the cost of this? How much do central government usually, and when I say central government, I mean the Assembly and the Executive, and then how much usually do they bring in from the private sector? You know, so if those, even, okay, maybe every bid will have been different, or every successful bid will have been different, but if we can get a sample to see where that is. You know, I think it's important, you know, that we step up as the elected body. We show leadership. We let people outside the council area see what this place has to offer. There are some of us who see Armagh City as a very significant place, and we make no apology for doing that. But we now want to open the doors to the world and let them see that there is a culture here that we can be proud of, that represents every man, woman, and child in the city and beyond. You know, there are many different strands to our cultures, from the indigenous to the new communities that have come to live and work here. And I think it's important that we embrace all those cultures as part of this bid. So look, keep up the good work. I think it is a no mean feat that we've got to this point. I have every confidence in you that we will get down to the last three, and then it's I think the phrase is squeaky bum time. You know, that's where we want to be. We want to be in the last three, and we want to be there fighting for that final place. So look, anything that we can do, I know speak for my own group, but I'm sure others will do the same, that we will offer whatever support and whatever we can do to help. Please only ask.
Okay, Councillor Pope.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Brian, for a presentation, and thank you to all the team for all the hard work. I'm very pleased to see in the legacy section that includes the green agenda, and especially with COP26 going on, and bearing in mind really the funding opportunities and investment possibilities with the green agenda. So really thinking about the main themes, I would propose that to have a main theme which is very inclusive of the green agenda. And thank you very much for all the work, and continue. Thank you.
Okay, Brian, I'm going to bring you back to answer the questions. But before I do that, we've a proposer from Councillor O'Hanlon. Is there anyone at this point who wants to second that? Seconded by Alderman Spears. Thank you. Okay, Brian.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members, for the positive feedback and the positive comments. I think just on the number of questions, Alderman Spears' point around support from government departments. I think at the moment we're articulating our asks of the government departments, and government has been, with the previous City of Culture winners, have been central to the funding of the project, and I think that expectation will be the same here. So I know that you've been having conversations within parties, but also I know Roger and others have been having conversations with government departments. So we are now getting down to the detail of, you know, what that might look like. And as Councillor O'Hanlon said, we have looked at other previous successful bids, and currently, you know, with a lot of help and assistance from our colleagues sort of in Derry City Council in terms of some of their learnings and feedback from that, and similarly with Coventry and Hull. And, you know, government has been a big funder. So we've seen different breakdowns, and as Councillor O'Hanlon said, each bid is very different, and each funding model is very different. Coventry is very much community up, and Hull is very much about sort of large events and again bigger wow moments during the programme. So yeah, the fundraising and will be really important, and that's where the conversation comes in around governance. So and this is where we need to weigh up the pros and cons and bring a model forward. So there's where maybe a company is set up, there is the opportunity to speak to trusts and foundations, to speak to businesses, to speak to the government in a way that council maybe can't. So we'll, as Councillor O'Hanlon said, we'll bring that paper back with detail and the pros and cons and before anything has progressed. But in the meantime, we will explore all of those opportunities to see which the best option is. And on Councillor Pope's point in the green agenda, I think that will have to underpin everything, because, you know, again, because we're in Northern Ireland and we're removed from the mainland UK, there's going to be a need for obviously people to get onto a plane. So a number of the events will need to be delivered digitally, but fundamentally we want footfall and we want people here to experience this place. And as not all the members have said, like, we have a great story to tell. And the final feedback from Coventry was, it wasn't overwhelming. We have something unique, and when you put it all together as a borough, I think we've a really strong bid. So it's incumbent that, I think Councillor O'Hanlon said about being shortlisted. That's, we're in this to win, and so that's the aspiration at this point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian. It's proposed and seconded. Our members agreed? Thank you. 5.3 is an information item around the Food and Cider Weekend, a review of it. If there are no questions, and I don't get an indication that there are, we'll move past it. Okay, there's correspondence on agenda item 6.1 is a letter dated 8th of October from Libraries NI. And if no one has any points to raise out of that, then I declare the meeting closed. Thank you for your attendance. Welcome and safe home to those members who are here. Thanks. Good night.
Thank you.